You mentioned earlier too about how you learn more about what kind of projects actually add value. You actually had a difficult experience where a project you worked on, a news article recommendation project, got canceled. What did you learn from this experience about how to kind of pick and choose? Maybe listeners out there might not be in a position to pick and choose, but at least try to guide their careers or their projects that they're placed on in a specific way so that they are picking projects that are going to be being shipped or being successful.
Well, one thing is to be extremely aggressive when structuring your project about thinning what's required to reach an end-to-end success. You want to have a path towards the initial product success, something that appears on end metrics, something that's surfaced to the user, something that actually drives concrete value externally, not just within your team, not just within the teams around you, but actually at a user level as quickly and simply as possible. And if your project is structured in a way where that value isn't going to come for, till the end of the quarter or the end of next quarter, then you're at extremely high risk that if an intermediate step ends up becoming more difficult than you expect, then you'll end up driving no value at all. And that will look very bad for both things like promotions, your own growth, your own frustration and happiness and the success of your team. But it is usually very easy and within the control of any individual engineer to reorder milestones and to restructure a project. The core deliverables may be things that come down from above and you may not have control over earlier in your career, but the order in which things are structured and the way that you design the roadmap that you have is something that you have control over, even as a very junior engineer. And so I would suggest even if it seems like doing multiple things at once to build out a core platform layer, for instance, may make other things later on in the project simpler, it is worth making the project seem like it will take longer, seem like it will be harder, just to move that end user deliverable as early in the project as possible. The amount of benefits that has, both to the success of the overall project, the ability to get early feedback, the amount of buy-in that you'll have from external stakeholders really cannot be overstated. That was a lesson that this experience drove home very clear for me. It's one that I've taken and applied throughout the rest of my career.
I really appreciate you breaking down like that. It's almost like if you can show that there's some kind of impact, there's currency in that where maybe a project might get canceled, but if you're already showing that it's being used or there's already some kind of impact, even though it's not the full-fledged, the scoped project is not fully complete, it might buy you time or buy you more, capitals for you to continue working on it.
People remember the impact that you've driven. They don't remember the things that you said you were going to do and didn't do. They remember the things that you actually did. And that's what matters for you as well. That's what actually matters for making the product better, building a better company. You're never going to be able to do everything. No company is ever going to be able to do everything that anyone ever thought they wanted to do. But if you are actually doing things and closing the loop, then you're making the thing better. You're making the product better. You're making your team more successful. You're growing your own career and establishing this currency.
Yeah, I think it's important where, engineers are not a monolith, but I think there's a very much logical kind of thinking involved where to build this whole project, I got to do this in a certain step-by-step order. Let's do the foundations first and kind of build from there. But you're saying shoot the whole thing all the way through first and then kind of add the meat onto it later, which I think is almost like counterintuitive or at least not typical way of maybe engineers approaching a project. But as you mentioned, it's what the company values. So I think it's important for people to consider optimizing for that. So
This is something that's important in any kind of project, but anything with machine learning and data science, it is absolutely critical because of the amount of risk that's involved in each intermediate stage. And so recommend this to anybody, but I recommend this especially when you're working with those kinds of technologies.
If you enjoyed this clip, make sure you watch the entire video, which has a lot more content just like this. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of our episodes where we talk to leaders in the tech industry, from software engineers to product managers to engineering managers, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and also click the notification bell.